The reporters over at Dropsite News just revealed that the Israeli government installed and in fact maintained a security system at an apartment building managed by Jeffrey Epstein. But you know what? We got to talk about Jeffrey Epstein's connections to the Russians because that's more important. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, Dropsite's latest finding here is just the latest in a long list of evidence tying Jeffrey Epstein to the Israelis. He had very close ties to the Israelis. This is just another example of that. So 301 East 66th Street in Manhattan was technically owned by a company connected to Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein. But effectively, that building was managed and controlled by Jeffrey Epstein. So this is the residence where former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak frequently stayed for stretches of time, okay? So it wasn't just like a quick visit. He'd be there for days, weeks at a time. And that seems to be the reason why the government of Israel got involved here. So under Israeli law, former prime ministers typically receive a security detail, like security service after they leave office, kind of similar to what we have here in the United States. You know, former presidents tend to continue having some security. And here's what we know about this whole setup, okay? So the emails that were released show that Jeffrey Epstein authorized meetings between his staff and Israeli security officials. Obviously, he would have to do that so they can coordinate. Now, in early 2016, Rafi Shlomo, then director of protective service at the Israeli mission to the United Nations in New York and head of Barak security, corresponded with Epstein employees to arrange meetings to discuss security and coordinate installation of specialized surveillance equipment at the 66th Street residence. I'm sure all of that surveillance was meant to protect Ehud Barak and not record anything else. I'm sure that's the case. Now, Shlomo personally controlled access to the apartment for guests and even conducted background checks on cleaners and Epstein's employees. So are you telling me that Israel didn't know that underage girls were being raped in that building? Had no idea? Interesting. A January 26th email exchange between Ehud Barak's wife and an Epstein employee who appears to be his longtime assistant, Leslie Groff, discussed installing alarms and surveillance equipment at the residence, including 6 sensors. I'm not the one who wrote that. I just want to be clear, right? So this is from the email. So including 6 sensors sticked to the windows, these people are morons, and the ability to remotely control access to the premises. Now, Pirelli, that's Ehud Barak's wife, informed Epstein staff that, quote, they can neutralize the system from far before you need somebody to enter the apartment. Gee, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to disable the surveillance from afar before someone would want to enter the apartment? Is it because you don't want to get surveillance of a certain person entering the apartment? Let me continue though. The only thing to do is call Rafi from the consulate and let him know who and when is entering. So the work done by the Israeli government was so significant that Jeffrey Epstein himself had to personally approve it. So I just want to be very clear. Everyone knows what's going on here, okay? No, there is no like, oh, the Israelis are shocked that this Epstein guy was trafficking minors. Like, come on. Okay, so in one email that Groff, remember this is Epstein's assistant, wrote to Barak and his wife, she said that Jeffrey says he does not mind holes in the walls, and this is all just fine. So I'm assuming putting hidden cameras in the walls, that's why you'd have holes in the walls. But in a January 2017 email to Shlomo with the subject line, Jeffrey Epstein regarding Ehud's apartment, an Epstein assistant provided Israeli officials with a list of employees who would need access to the apartment, adding, I understand from you already have a copy of her ID from a while ago. She is the maid and has been going in and out of the apartment for a long time now. Okay, now a few weeks later, the assistant wrote to Epstein himself that Rafi, the head of Ehud's security, is asking if I could meet him at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, Tuesday the 14th at his office. Then there's the office's address regarding Ehud's apartment. Epstein approved the meeting. Now the emails show that the Israeli mission in regular contact with Epstein's representatives over multiple visits by Barak and his wife happened throughout 2016 and 2017. Witnesses at the building also recalled to Business Insider specifically years ago that they had seen Israeli security agents with Ehud Barak in the building on multiple occasions, which shouldn't really surprise you. I mean, even before the files were released, we saw like a video of Ehud Barak entering an apartment building belonging to Jeffrey Epstein. So none of this is really that surprising. The surprising part of it is just how involved the Israeli government was and how much they knew about, Ehud Barak's very friendly relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And as it turns out, the Baraks weren't the only Israelis staying at the property. So Barak's longtime aide, Yoni Koren, who died in 2023, was another frequent guest at Epstein's 66th Street apartment. So according to Drop Site News, Koren stayed at the apartment on multiple occasions, including in 2013, while he was still actively serving as bureau chief for the Israeli Ministry of Defense. And that's according to calendars released by the House Oversight Committee investigation into Epstein and emails released by Distributed Denial of Secrets email correspondence from Barak's inbox also showed Koren exchanging information with Epstein for a wire transfer. So units in the building were apparently also often loaned out to other Epstein contacts like Jean-Luc Brunel. That was one of the individuals who was trafficking underage girls to Epstein and allegedly committed suicide while in prison. But anyway, so all these like other people, the building being loaned out to Jean-Luc Brunel, also allegedly used to house underage models as well. So I don't believe for a second that Israel didn't know. They didn't know underage girls were being trafficked in that building when you literally have like a security detail that's being coordinated by the Israeli government on behalf of Ehud Barak because homeboy like practically lives with Jeffrey Epstein. And all that surveillance, where's all that surveillance? Yeah, just curious. We've got some serious surveillance going on. So what happened to those videos? I'm sure that they can maybe shed some light on what was going on in that property. But yeah, let's go back to talking about the Russians. I can't believe that corporate media had the audacity to try to pivot from any relationship that Epstein may have with the Israelis and instead pin this on the Russians. It's so pathetic. They've lost all credibility. Any publication that published that claim, no credibility whatsoever.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.